to continue on with the talent that we have in the community, we have a special speaker that's going to be with us today. Homegrown, right here at CSA. I'd like to welcome to the stage our very own Reverend Chaplain Zola Ferguson.
Thank you. I don't have all the stuff that Georgia usually has, the whole thing. I'm so sorry. Good morning, and I'm very, very proud and happy to be here to share this message with you this morning. And I have just a few words before I get started. One is that these words are my own. Well, there was a little AI involved in collating some of that, but it was my ideas. And if you like what you hear, please, I will be in the back of the room. You can please come share with me anything that you'd like to talk about. And if you don't like it, please tell Rick, Reverend Rick, because there he is. So it is. Yeah, we've had church already. But I want to talk about something a little more serious. I want to talk about belonging. Or not belonging. And I want to know, have you ever been in a situation where it felt like you had to edit yourself to fit in? Not here this morning. You do not have to edit yourself. You are welcome here. And as a white woman of a certain age, my experiences of not belonging may be very different than yours. And will certainly have a patina of privilege, if not a whole whitewash of privilege. As I heard the comedian Michelle Wolf say, white women are struggling lately because it's hard to address our own racism while maintaining our tanning schedule. I didn't make that up. Blame her for that one. But today I'm not going to lecture on the reasons and the causes of feeling left out, because they're often rooted in childhood experiences and trauma, and or perpetuated by the environment and the culture we live in. There are many, many people, brilliant people, who are addressing what causes people to feel left out, apart from, separate from their own soul. Poets, scholars, philosophers, brilliant thinkers. And why we often feel like an outsider is studied. You can read about it. But what I am going to explore today is the hope and strength that I have found in the teachings of three very different Americans, and the experiences that led me to study them. What would it feel like if we truly believed we already belonged in the heart of love? We truly believe that in our soul every minute, that there never was nor ever could be separation from that which is holy. I have felt deep connection to that which cannot be named, where time stood still and I knew everything was exactly as it should be. And perhaps you have also. At the birth of a baby, when they take their first breath, at the death of a loved one, when they take their last breath. It is a holy moment that cannot be described. And I felt spiritual disconnection so deep that I feared I could not recover. And on occasion, actually both in the same day. What I know for certain is that we all want to belong. We need to belong, to be seen and loved for who we truly are. And I will share three of the greatest teachers who have influenced me and guided my journey with their wisdom. And I will also blend in some tall tales of where my life experiences have taken me to my own belonging. And my hope is that you will come away with a new appreciation of your own journey to where you long to belong. I've not always felt like I belonged in this world or in certain places. My early life did not look or feel like other kids' homes. My father could not keep a job, and we moved often from Las Vegas to Bakersfield to Lodi to Reno, all the high places of the West. We moved from place to place with the promise of finding a true home. After he died by suicide when I was 9, my mother moved us to Santa Rosa to be closer to her family and to raise 4 kids on her own. There was not always enough, and I often wore hand-me-downs, and I survived and I thrived with love of some family and teachers and friends. But I knew that my life was different and poorer than many of my friends. Also, I have learned and come to know how lucky and privileged I really am. What I did not know and could not know was that even in the challenging times of my childhood and the subsequent, often poor decisions of my young adulthood, I was being held and led to a path of love and acceptance that has shaped my spiritual world. My story of recovery and discovery is both mundane and monumental. But that's for another sermon. That's part 2. Come back another day. See, I've been in 2 war zones, Afghanistan and Iraq, as a medic caring for troops and civilians, and felt the undeniable presence of the divine and witnessed miracles in the midst of tragedy. I'm still reminded today, as we all are, of the horrors of war and violence, and I find myself feeling both guilty and grateful for the joys and abundance in my own life. That I still have my life is a miracle. And it's a balancing act that requires the deepest empathy for myself and for other human beings. And in this backdrop, in this world right now, I pose a question. Where do any of us long to belong? Dr. Brene Brown, a social scientist, researcher, and storyteller, writer, and speaker, in her book, Braving the Wilderness, reminds us that belonging is not about changing who we are. She says true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. Brene makes the case that vulnerability is the pathway to connection, and as she admits, it is much easier in supportive environments where you know you're accepted, but may prove challenging in an atmosphere of fear that we know pervades our world today. My experience, one of my experiences of feeling like I had to shrink myself when I was first meeting my wife's family at an evangelical event in Kansas where her father was preaching about the sins of the flesh. And he did not know yet we were already married. I was afraid for myself and for her, and I knew it was very unwise to be my full, queer, multi-religious, pagan self at that very moment. Brene was not available for a mobile shout out, and I would have. But she guides us. She says the one thing she emphasizes is that it requires courage to belong and a trip into the wilderness. And as she describes the wilderness, is an untamed, unpredictable place of solitude and searching. It is a place as dangerous as it is breathtaking, a place as sought after as it is feared. But it turns out to be the place of true belonging. It is the bravest and most sacred place you will ever stand. So belonging, and belonging in this spiritual community, is not about uniformity. It's about honoring the diversity of the divine in each of us. The voice of the next person, the next teacher, has spoken to my heart. James Baldwin was one of the most powerful voices of the 20th century. He knew the pain and power of not belonging and of choosing to belong to himself. He was a prolific and eloquent writer, and in his book, The Fire Next Time, which was written in 1963, he wrote a letter to his nephew regarding the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. His words to his nephew urged him, said, "Refuse to belong to systems or expectations that deny your own truth." This book helped shape the values of the civil rights movement and is quoted and studied. And he said, "You have to go the way your heart beats. If you don't live the only life you have, you won't live some other life. You won't live any life at all." So belonging, he says, often comes after exile, when we stop seeking permission and claim our own humanity. My own spiritual journey of belonging is inspired by his voice and courage, and I'm humbled by his vision. The prophetic voice that Baldwin carries echoes the voice of the holy, calling us to liberation, to justice, to truth. And belonging isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it means standing apart in order to be true to what is holy in you. And this brings me home to the teachings of Ernest Holmes, a man whose spiritual insight led him to found Science of Mind and whose legacy continues to guide the Centers for Spiritual Living, where we are today. He taught that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can use it. And he believed, and he tells us, that this power is not outside of us. It is in us and works through us and as us. That the divine is not separate, but is intimately woven into our own being. Holmes saw separation as an illusion. In divine mind, there is only unity, and as such, we are eternally united with that which is holy. Belonging, then, is not something to be earned. It is our birthright, right here, right now, because we are expressions of the infinite. So I ask again, what would it look like? What would we look like if we truly believed we already belonged in the heart of God? That there is no place where God ends and we begin. So I'm ending with summing up. Brown calls us to courageous authenticity. Baldwin reminds us that our belonging may require resistance, but that the truth will lead us home. And Holmes gives us the assurance, that soft place to land, that we are already one with the divine. And belonging begins with the courage to say, I am enough because I am of God. It continues as we choose to stand with others, not when they are like us, because that's easy, but because they are also of God. And if you'll join me in the closing prayer, Spirit of love, Spirit of the divine, the one who holds the stars and the moon and all of us together, remind us that we are never truly alone. Help us to release the masks, to quiet the inner critic, and to open our arms to one another. May we live in the deep knowing that we belong to one another. And always, always, we belong to you. And so it is. Amen.
Let's give it up for Zola Ferguson. Reverend Chaplain Zola Ferguson. Amen. Thank you for that gift, sister. Thank you. It's now time for our offering. Repeat after me. My money is God in action. I send it forth to bless and prosper all who come in contact with it. And so it is. And now, I'd like to welcome back Miss Gianna.
I don't know where Andre went, but I know. Okay, well, oh, here he is. Okay, perfect. Well,
It's all you.
Okay, perfect. I've done this song here before. I actually did this song the first time that I was a guest artist here, and I wanted to do it again because it's one of my favorite, gospel songs, and I actually think it works pretty well with exactly what Zola was just talking about. We're always being held by the Spirit, and we're always, whether we want to acknowledge it or see it or not, it's all around us, and this song is about that. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? When Spirit is my portion, a constant friend indeed. God's eye is on the sparrow, and I know God watches over me. God's eye is on the sparrow, and I know God watches me. watches over me. God's eye is on the sparrow, and I know God watches over